Gentlemen, I'm today going to talk on Kashmir. And because many people have asked me what is going to happen in Kashmir, it's a very tortuous history, and there is a battle on in Kashmir. Terrorist activity is on, and I do not know what is going to be the solution, but let us examine it and see what is the possibility. First of all, the Kashmir problem is the creation of the Indian state. In 1947, Kashmir had acceded to India, and once the Maharaja had signed the accession letter to the Indian state, it was paramount duty of the Indian state to rush the army into Kashmir and throw the invaders out. And I still could not understand that for so many weeks, once the invasion of Kashmir had started, the Indian army never reacted. And the Indian leadership, led by Pandit Nehru, was just sitting on their haunches and only making statements. It's only when the army, the tribals who had invaded Kashmir had reached the Srinagar airfield that the Indians woke up, and the first batch of troops left by Lieutenant Colonel Rai of the Sikh regiment with 28 Sikhs in a DC-3 landed in the airfield. It was not even known at that time whether Srinagar airfield was free or in the hands of the tribals. Anyway, the battle commenced and the tribals were pushed back, and the Pakistan army came in, but they still were retreating. And at that critical moment, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru developed cold feet and he decided to have a ceasefire. And he approached the Security Council. Now, this was a very foolish thing to do because at that time the Indian army was on the run against the tribals and the Pakistan army. And Nehru should have had the stomach for a longer battle, and maybe the Indian army would have moved in further. And secondly, Nehru also greatly failed in geopolitical power politics. This was the time when he could have easily sent the army in to occupy East Pakistan and then use it as a bargaining chip for Kashmir, which he never did. And net result was that the UN enforced a ceasefire and a line of control was set up in which almost 40% of Kashmir was taken over by Pakistan. This is the crux of the problem. Nehru's approach to the UN brought about a Security Council resolution which said that there should be plebiscite in Kashmir, and Nehru, in a very famous speech in Srinagar in 48, I think, or 49, he accepted, yes, I will have plebiscite in Kashmir and give the people the choice to join either Pakistan or India. Now it is easier to talk, easier to say these things, but the ground reality was different. And then there was another clause in that resolution which specified that the Pakistan army must withdraw from Kashmir. So India stuck to that particular clause because the Pakistan army did not withdraw from Kashmir. With the result, what happened was that the UN resolution became dead. I think very rightly so. But at the same time, Pakistan has been harping all this time on a plebiscite in Kashmir and talking of self-determination. If you go by the legalistic approach of the UN resolution, is not relevant. There is no question of a plebiscite till Pakistan withdraws their army from Kashmir, which they are not going to do. So the UN resolution has really got no meaning. But the problem is of Kashmir has continued till that time, and Nehru compounded matters further by trying to keep Kashmir as a protected state away from the mainstream of India. He brought in very cleverly an article called 370 in the constitution, which was brought in by Gopal Swami, I think, Iyengar, at a time when Nehru was out of America, out of India, to show to the people, well, look, I am not the main culprit as far as this resolution is concerned, this amendment to the constitution is concerned. So this Article 370 agreed for a separate constitution for Kashmir. It also said so many other things, that there would be a separate identity of the Kashmiris, and nobody else from India could go and settle in Kashmir or buy land there. In fact, he insulated the Kashmiris from integration with India. This was the most foolish thing to do, and he put a anchor round the neck of the Indian state by these actions. Nehru, of course, died in 64, but the people who followed him were all from the Congress party, and they should have rescinded all these things because it was clearly stated that Article 370 is a temporary phenomena and would be removed in due course of time. But it never got removed and it became sacrosanct, so much so forth that at one time Mufti Muhammad, the daughter of the ex-home minister, Mufti, had said that in case this article is removed, then खून की नदियां चलेंगी. Easy to talk, as I said, and nobody had the guts to remove this article. Atal Bihari Vajpayee came as the Prime Minister of the BJP, but in 6 years, I'm afraid he did nothing. He was only talking of Kashmiriyat. Now, why should you talk of Kashmiriyat? There's nothing like Kashmiriyat. What is Kashmiriyat? There is only one identity, and that is Indian identity, which unfortunately uh, nobody was talking about. Then something happened when General Ziaul Haq came into power. When he came into power, he decided that the time had come that there should be an internal revolution or a revolt in Kashmir. And so they began to goad the local people in the name of Islam and jihad to throw the minorities out. This was the time, I think, around 87 to 89, when the Indian government should have woken up. In fact, the Indian government should have woken up way back in 73 when Indira Gandhi, like a novice, handed over almost 90,000 prisoners to Pakistan, which we had captured in East Pakistan. Nothing of the sort was done, and only some verbal assurances were given by Zulfikar Bhutto, who had attended the Shimla conference with Indira Gandhi. Net result was that India lost the one ace which we had, with which we could pressurize Pakistan, and overall the problem in Kashmir remained. India could not integrate Kashmir with the Indian state, and the separatism continued. And it is a fact of history that the anti-Hindu agitation and killings which started in Kashmir was right under the nose of the Congress government, and it continued even when Vajpayee was there, and it's continuing even now. If you can see that only a few days back in Rajouri, which is a majority Hindu area, many Hindus have been shot dead by terrorists who had targeted Hindus. All this is happening despite Modi having come in and abrogated Article 370. Now, even you have removed Article 370, but you have not solved the problem. That is the crux of the issue. And one must study how the Chinese solved the problem in Sinkiang, which is having a similar sort of problem. I will not say that we can follow everything what China has done, but you must take lessons. And integration is not by appeasement. That is the first point we must remember. All along, the Indian leadership was always talking of appeasement and talks with the terrorists or with Pakistan. I mean, this is not going to lead to any solution at all. And the problem is that I do not visualize any further improvement in the Kashmir situation, not for some time. There was a lot of propaganda that there has been an airstrike in Balakot, there has been surgical strikes in Kashmir. Very good, that's an excellent thing. But what is the result? The day the airstrike took place at Balakot, the very next day the Pakistani Air Force also made a strike in India. They didn't achieve anything, but they did do it. And in the last combat which they had with the Indian Air Force, they were able to shoot down a MiG 21 and capture a pilot. And his effigy has been made, a rather wax model, and kept in the Pakistani Air Force Museum in Karachi. Now, this is not something to be feel proud of. And so panicky were the Indians at that time that even they used a Spider spice rocket system, and they shot an Indian helicopter with 6 Air Force personnel over Srinagar airfield. I was told that there was some court of inquiry and the AOC and the crew and all that will be to be charged with murder. I don't know what's happened. We haven't heard about anything after that. But this shows the ineptitude of the Indian armed forces, and the more so the political leadership. Now, the question which we have to answer is what is going to happen further. Modi had promised a lot of things, but nothing has materialized at the moment. Why? Because we lack geopolitical vision. This problem could have been solved even in 47 or in 65 when Pakistan made an attempt to capture Kashmir. At that time, if Shastri had a sense of vision, he would have instructed the Army Eastern Command in 1965 to occupy Sylhet and Chittagong. Had India done that, the East Pakistan army was totally, East Pakistan was a defenseless region at that time. We could have used it as a bargaining chip for Kashmir. It was never done. Even in the 98 Kargil operations, Vajpayee developed cold feet in crossing the LOC. I couldn't understand what is the problem. And his failure to open a second front resulted in almost 2,500 Indian soldiers being killed for nothing. And the man responsible is Mr. Vajpayee himself and the army chief. At that time, I think General Sharma, he should have been a little more forthright. After all credit to General Chaudhary that he did open the front in 1965 in the Lahore and Sialkot sector and relieved the pressure in Kashmir. Now, these are all effects of history and it must be appearing like a disjointed stream. But the point which I am trying to make is that India has not had a serious effort, not made a serious effort to solve the Kashmir problem. Kashmir's problem cannot be solved till the terrorism is subdued in Kashmir. And how do you do that? We are maintaining huge amount of troops there in Kashmir, and still the terrorism is continuing. They shoot the minority community people with impunity. Nobody is really safe. So what are we going to do? What is the next step which India should do? In my view, we have to change the demographic composition of Kashmir. Even now, there are a lot of restrictions on Indians going and settling in Kashmir or taking Kashmiri citizenship. It is not so in other parts of India. Anybody can go and settle down and buy property in Bombay and Maharashtra and stay on, no problem. But you can't do that in Kashmir. I think now there is a period specified that so many years you must stay in Kashmir and then only you will be considered for citizenship of Kashmir. Now, the valley is 98% Muslim. I think only 1 to 2% are non Muslims. And all the Hindus, almost 200,000 of them were thrown out. Many were killed, abducted, raped, most of them ran away, and all under the nose of the central government. This should have acted way back in 89, which they never did. Narasimha Rao didn't do anything. Vajpayee didn't do anything. He was talking of Kashmir. He got no irrelevant talk. And Modi has been talking also that I will teach Pakistan a lesson, but the lesson has not been there. Pakistan is continuing its hatred of India, transgressing the border, sending across terrorists, inciting the local people. And you can well imagine that there was a terrorist young man called Burhani, and this man was on Facebook with rifle and all that, and when he was shot dead, there was a hartal in Kashmir, there was total lockdown. So it just about shows that things are not honky dory in Kashmir. And the only solution, the way I can think, is that if you open up Kashmir entirely to non Kashmiris, it should be the removal of all restrictions. And as far as things are concerned, Pakistan keeps on claiming Kashmir, but Indians do not go in the same vehement, the same tenor, the same force and claim Pakistan occupied Kashmir as Indian. Only now Modi has been making a few statements here and there, but for long periods India never made any statement or told the world that we want to take back Azad Kashmir or Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So this itself shows that we are on a weak wicket, and that is the sad part of the whole story. Even now, the Indian government is not showing any urgency in the Kashmir problem, and I think they are still sitting down and, as you say, khichdi paka rahe hain, just talking here and there, which has got no relevance actually. Now we have got the problem of China, and even the Indians have abrogated 370 and had a reorganization of states is not recognized by Pakistan, not recognized by the world. Other than one or two countries like Russia may recognize it. And China is also not recognizing the reorganization of Kashmir. The question is, why do we keep showing Aksai Chin as part of India when we have no force to capture Kashmir? Aksai Chin. At the same time, we have to do something about the valley. The valley is 98% Muslim, no doubt, but their population is limited. And if you remember, the Chittagong hill tracts had a lot of Chakma tribals staying there, and they were reduced to a minority when Bengali farmers were sent there, and they started populating the area. And the insurrection which the Chakmas were doing died away. So you have to do something drastic. And the old saying that fear is the key. I remember this particular novel written by Lester MacLean. And I think that is the policy which is dictating the Indian state. Fear is the key. They are scared to do everything. They're scared that 56 Islamic countries will be against us, America will be against us. And, you know, so we keep on trying to please everybody. In contrast, China is just not bothered. They have even banned Ramadan in Sinkiang. They have transported 200,000 Uyghur Muslims into education camps to brainwash them into thinking about China. Many Han Chinese have come into Sinkiang, married the local Muslim girls. I don't see that we can do these things by force, yes. But at least the condition should be created wherein the state becomes a part of India. Until you do that, I'm afraid this thing will continue. And I do not visualize any solution. That means you may keep on having one or two more Balakot strikes or something, they are going to mean nothing. It will lead to nothing. Even the earliest strikes led to nothing. There has been a faulty policy right from 1947 to treat Kashmir with kid gloves. When in 1947 itself, the refugees who were coming from Punjab would have been settled in Kashmir. Why was it not done? And the guilty man is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I do not know what was in his mind. And he is a greatly respected Indian leader, but unfortunately, he is the one leader who has let India down. And no other leader of any stature had any ability or the thought that he could change what Nehru was thinking. His thought process continued till 2014 when Narendra Modi came, and he has brought in a whiff of fresh air. But he's also developed cold feet, I can tell you. And he's not going the full hog of how to do away with terrorism. There can be no compromise on this. And we must remember that nobody won any war with ahimsa or peace. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was once met by the chief of the Indian Army who gave him a proposal for reorganization. Nehru told him, "We are a nation, we believe in ahimsa, we have no enemy. We don't want the army. I don't want the army," etc. Throw it out. I'll manage with the civil police. So, if that sort of leader is going to lead India forward, obviously, what can you expect?